7:20, if you've got a loved one in hospital, would you expect to have to feed and wash them? A new report out this morning says it should be made compulsory for relatives to help, unless there's a reason they're unable to.
Well, it's meant to ease the pressure on hospital staff, but is it really a good idea?
I do actually quite like the idea that families offer some kind of succour to their relatives, but that it should be obligatory is perhaps a bit much of a burden.
It ensures that they're getting the sort of food that they like,
and hopefully the care
that they like. You know, you're able to monitor what's actually happening.
There's got to be a level of confidence dealing with someone who's ill or injured, and I think in that situation you don't always know what the best thing to do is.
Well, we're joined now by Julia Manning, the founder of 2020 Health, who put together the report, and former NHS Trust Chairman Roy Lilly. What do you make of this report, Roy?
It's balmy, isn't it, really? I mean, it's like a think tank that hasn't really thought it through. Look, it's being based on the jury service idea. Jury service, I think, costs us something like £30 million a year to organise, and you can buy a lot of nurses for that. It's like all things, there's a germ of an idea in it. There's no question in paediatric wards where mums and dads go and help out with kids. Some hospitals have volunteers helping at meal times, and some hospitals welcome relatives to go in. But to make it a civic duty, you'd have to have safeguarding rules, CRB checks, cross-infections.
Difficult to monitor.
Schedules. It'd be difficult to monitor. A lot of old people would say, oh, I hope I don't have to go in hospital because I don't have a relative to come in and look after me. This kind of thing frightens people. But having said that, of course relatives have a place in hospital, but to turn it into a regime is, I think, very silly.
Would you have the situation then where you would have people bringing in food, fish and chips, pizza, all that kind of stuff, you know, bringing in anything, and that surely that wouldn't work. There would have to be some sort of regulation there.
Let's just step back a moment as to why we did this piece of work.
Sure.
We're bringing out this publication today because of the Mid Staffordshire inquiry report, which will come out next week, and we've got 21 contributors who have thought about, OK, where do we go now with caring, with nursing? And this is just one of the ideas. So we're talking about regulation and registration and training for healthcare support workers. We're talking about mentoring by senior nurses for junior nurses. And we're also saying that families and friends should be welcome on hospital wards. There should be an expectation that they can help out with care. Many people do it already. Many people already volunteer, as Rory said, and they're helping with cups of tea and with portering and with guiding people. And many want to help as well. And we think that that's a good thing. And the reality is, on the ground in a hospital today, the majority of people there are elderly. A lot have dementia. It can take 2 hours to feed someone with dementia, and the nursing staff simply can't get round to everyone and make sure that they eat properly. So if you've got family and friends, volunteers there helping out, that can only be a good thing. And that will also help people feel that their local hospital is something that they, they're involved in, and that's a good thing to be part of.
But what if you've got somebody, as we were saying, who's elderly, who doesn't have anybody coming in to see them? And the meal gets put down to them, and as we know, sometimes gets picked up again and they've not eaten anything?
Yes, absolutely. Not everyone does have someone who comes in. I used to work with elderly people, and lots are isolated and alone. But there are those who've got fantastic family and friends who come in. And certainly when I visited my mum and when she was in hospital, both of us used to help other people, you know, those who didn't have visitors and those who needed assistance.
Washing them, do you not think that could be very difficult for many families? A lot of families would find that, you know, that the relative wouldn't want, you know, the grandmother, grandfather, father wouldn't really want you to be washing them. They would feel embarrassed by that.
Well, but I think dignity is bestowed, and I think the way you treat someone, you know, gives them dignity. And I had to wash my mum. My dad had to be involved in washing my mum, and that was something that we did out of love and because we wanted her to be looked after as well as possible. So it's not ideal.
But call me old-fashioned, but when you go to hospital, don't you expect a nurse to look after you?
Absolutely, and we're not suggesting we replace nurses. What we're saying is that we go along and we help them, because the burden now is so very different from NHS in 1948, when people went in with pneumonia and scarlet fever. Most people weren't elderly. We've got a changing demographic. Many more people now in hospital are elderly.
That's true. I agree with all of that, but of course the headline for this report is the one that, you know, everybody's going to be terrified that they can't go into hospital unless they've got a relative to look after them. What is also in this report, which is very good and has been overlooked, is the idea of registering healthcare assistants, because at the moment we've got an army of unregulated people who, frankly, in some cases are hauled off the street and put in a nursing home. So there's good stuff in the report, but unfortunately the headline's been captured by this rather potty idea.